This ordinary-looking council estate near Crystal Palace conceals an extraordinary secret. Hidden beneath this block of flats is the Cold War bunker from where southeast London, right up until the 1990s, would have been governed during a nuclear war. If this red light had ever come on for real, an incoming nuclear attack would have been about to hit the capital. The speed of the missiles would only have left time for Londoners to be given a 4-minute warning.
Here is an emergency announcement. An air attack is approaching this country now. Go to shelter or take cover at once.
The attack never came, of course, and when the Cold War ended in the early 1990s, Britain's entire network of civil defense bunkers, built from the early 1950s onwards, were shut or sold off by the government as an unnecessary expense. Today, as once top-secret official documents begin to be released under the 50-year disclosure rule, the extraordinary story of how government prepared for a nuclear attack on London can at last be told. Within months of the Soviet Union's first explosion of an atom bomb in 1949, it was concluded that it was impractical and far too expensive to provide nuclear shelters for the general public. Government, on the other hand, was to be protected at all costs. According to architect Roger Morgan, formerly secret plans show that an underground network of tunnels links Whitehall to a series of nuclear bunkers half a mile away. Tracing the line of the tunnels at street level, it's possible to find evidence of what's below, if you know what you're looking for. To Roger Morgan, this curious structure en route is a telltale sign, a ventilation shaft from the labyrinth below.
I mean, it's amazing that the public are walking past this site, which, is part of a secret government tunnels and bunker system designed to withstand nuclear war, and they're completely oblivious of the fact that beneath their feet is this secret world.
The Whitehall tunnels end below the former Department of the Environment buildings in Marsham Street, which are due for demolition this summer. Now that plans of the secret government war headquarters in the rotundas beneath have been released under the 50-year rule, filming permission has been granted for the very first time.
The plans that I've been able to obtain of these bunkers from the Public Record Office show their internal layout quite clearly. They are constructed in the pits of former gasometers, and the government utilised any handy holes in which to construct their bunkers, and 2 gasometer pits were very suitable. So the main 2 bunkers are circular. They're 3 stories deep. The roofs are 12 feet thick. The walls are 8 feet thick. There are something like 1,000 rooms, 2 miles of corridors, accommodation for 2,000 people, their own artesian well, completely self-contained power supply, and it was held that it could button down for 3 weeks in the event of an atomic attack. The country was split up into a number of regions, and there were regional war rooms, the idea being that some at least would survive. The rotundas are the central collecting point for all the communications for the whole regional war rooms network. So there would have been a large staff of civil defence personnel maintaining contact between all the various war rooms and relaying orders to the regional commissioners.
In order to try to govern a city as large as London after an atomic attack, the capital was split into 4 sectors, each with its own war room with communication links to the Marsham Street headquarters. The 4 bunkers were built at ground level, without windows and of extra thick reinforced concrete. 8 miles out from the city centre, they would have been beyond the blast zone of an atom bomb dropped on central London. Astonishingly, this house in Chislehurst, now on sale for £3 million, was once one of those bunkers. It's been recently converted by property developer Richard CLARKE.
The first time I ever came here was through this door here. There was an inch-thick steel plate door, like a submarine door. Obviously we put a window in here now because you don't waste a good hole in the wall in this building. But the idea was, if we had this nuclear bomb going off, if it blew through one door, it couldn't get along this corridor with these, I think they're about 4 foot thick here, the walls, down through the next section, and it had exactly the same again where you're standing, another submarine blast door of an inch-thick steel plate. This is actually the only original corridor left in the bunker with all the original rooms off it. We have the water storage room here, the same opening, same height. We have the entrance to the control room here through the original entrance, concrete walls again. And this is the shower room that would have been used, but now is a really luxurious bathroom. There we have it, quite an improvement from the old showers. Now to a sexy bathroom, complete with a rubber ceiling. It wouldn't have been the likes of me or you that were allowed in here before. This building was built for the local bigwigs. Obviously there's a big change from when it was expecting World War III, but it's probably going to be occupied by the same sort of people.
Across London, a perfect replica of the Chislehurst bunker lies hidden in woods in Mill Hill, now the last of London's 4 early 1950s war rooms to survive in its original form. It's being investigated by English Heritage as part of an ongoing national survey to identify Cold War structures which should be preserved as monuments of national historic importance.
This very stark structure is very good at symbolising the awesome power of atomic weapons which the country might have been attacked with during the 1950s and right through to the 1990s. And now we imagine that these threats have gone away. We do feel it is important for people to be aware of these structures and actually to visit them and just consider what might have been.
But the atom bomb soon proved an outdated threat. By the mid-1950s, the Soviet Union possessed a new and vastly more powerful weapon, the hydrogen bomb. At ground zero, an average-sized bomb would have gouged a huge crater from the Earth 100 feet deep and a mile wide. If targeted, central London, including the Marsham Street bunkers, would have been vaporized. The blast zone would extend far beyond that of an atom bomb. London's regional war rooms, previously safe 8 miles out, would have been pulverized. Yet despite this horrific scenario, the government still made plans to survive an H-bomb attack. 20 miles into the Essex countryside, beneath an ordinary-looking bungalow near Kelvedon Hatch, a massive underground bunker was secretly equipped to govern whatever remained of London. Maintained for possible use until the early 1990s, the bunker has since been sold back to the landowners and is now a museum.
The government approached my grandfather, and under the threat of compulsory purchase they took from us the 25-acre field in the middle of our farm. They bulldozed the top of the hill that was there all round the outside edge of the field. They put armed RAF guards on top of that to stop anybody looking over, and they proceeded to build the bunker. The bunker is equipped to hold people down here for about 3 months. We've got enough water supply for that, would have had enough food in here for that, and the generator fuel is enough to run for that. The air conditioning would obviously keep the air churned round. The filters, we've got enough of those to be able to filter the dust, the radioactive dust out. It was originally built for about 600 people. Not many people to govern quite a large area, but I suppose there wouldn't have been many people to govern, so it wouldn't have mattered too much. Once the first bomb had gone off, the regional commissioner here would have been the man who would have been in charge of this area. The commissioner's powers would have been absolutely total. He would have the power of life and death. He would be able to sort any marauding gang out by sending off the police or the army to ultimately kill them. His whole duty down here was to the greater population, not just to any individual or group of individuals who were trying to break in here or take over the power of government. The BBC radio studio was down here so that the Commissioner, or indeed the Prime Minister or somebody important, if they'd come down here, could have broadcast to the nation to tell us what was happening.
The government has decided that in the present state of international tension, you should be told how best to protect yourselves from the dangerous effects of nuclear attack. Using sacks or sandbags, which should be about 2/3 filled, you can block the windows from the outside. Alternatively, you can fill boxes or other containers with tightly packed earth.
The bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima was a mere 20 kiloton, and I don't think people realised the awesomeness once the hydrogen bomb was invented, which would have produced something that would have been 500 times greater than the bomb on Hiroshima.
If you are caught in the open by the attack, fling yourself on the ground instantly, wherever you are.
You would first of all get the flash of light, which would blind you, followed by the heat that would evaporate you or burn you very severely, and that would be followed by winds of up to 700 miles an hour, which would obviously do quite a lot of damage.
If you are at home or visiting, move instantly away from open windows or doors and take cover behind the nearest solid protection.
You would then be faced with 5 days of lethal radiation that would kill you almost immediately. After that, though, it does begin to get a little bit better. You still die, of course, it just takes you a little bit longer.
There are several simple kinds of shelter core you could make. Here, 2 doors are leaned against the wall, leaving a space in which the householder and his family can sit.
You were meant to take your passport and your bank books with you, not because when you came up there would be any banks, but of course it was a way of identifying you if they needed to identify you later on. Cynics would say that all the stuff you put on top of you was designed to cremate you, so they didn't actually have to worry about clearing you up afterwards.
The United Kingdom Warning and Monitoring Organization, with all its highly trained resources, is spread like chainmail over the entire country. Break one link, break many links. The overall organization can still be kept operative.
Built on high ground so as to overlook London and other potential targets, the government's UK Warning and Monitoring Organisation maintained a network of over 1,500 observation posts throughout the country from the late 1950s onwards. At posts like this one on the North Downs in Kent, Royal Observer Corps volunteers would have reported to headquarters details of a nuclear strike on London. On the front line of the government's nuclear war survival plan, Alan White was former chief observer here until the post was closed down at the end of the Cold War in the early 1990s. He's returning for a nostalgic visit with businessman Mark Ormiston, who subsequently bought the post from the government.
Well, here we are there, Alan. You see?
It's just like we left it, isn't it?
Yeah,
See, you've got quite a lot of instruments.
I've got the bomb power indicator, which I got from the Home Office stores they gave me.
Yeah.
The Teletalk radio.
Oh, that's what we used to communicate with HQ on.
And I've got the radiation detector. It is testing, and is it radiation down here? Yep. Okay.
There we are.
we're okay.
Zero, no radiation,
No,
which
that's
is a
good,
bit of a relief, isn't it?
That's good, isn't it? And
Yes.
I've got the WB 1400.
Uh-huh.
I've also got a GZI.
Yeah, so you have.
Yeah, ground
Yeah.
zero indicator. You know,
That's right, yeah.
remember that? It was like a big bread bin, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
The whole place actually near enough as it was 10 years
It's
ago.
really good, actually. In fact, we could almost go to war here again, couldn't
Well,
we?
I hope not.
Scramble, scramble.
Although every effort has been made to destroy the enemy attack, inevitably some sections of it will get through to unleash their deadly weapons.
The GLC in the early 80s did a study, and they reckon that there's going to be 85% casualties, about 5.5 million people would have been killed in the first 2 days of a nuclear war if London had been the target.
It was a strange situation to be in, knowing that we possibly would be well protected here and our families would be outside if a bomb went off and probably killed. We did have plans to try and look after our families, and hopefully these would have come into effect. But it was a strange situation to be in, really, and people often wondered how many people would actually turn up on the day if something actually happened.
Toxin, Papa 1.
Toxin, Papa 1.
1450, pressure 2.5.
Right, now the idea is that when a nuclear explosion occurs, the blast would come this way, would go through these plates, through this hole here, and be deflected down this tube onto the bomb power indicator downstairs, and that would register a reading.
How big the bomb was?
Yes.
60 seconds after the last significant explosion has taken place, one member of the team is sent out to change the cassettes in the ground zero indicator. This instrument, by means of a pinhole camera technique, records the flash from the nuclear burst onto photographic papers in cassettes slotted into holders.
Obviously it'd have to be made safe with the nuts when it was operational, otherwise a nuclear explosion could blow it right away.
People had to pop out to read the actual ground zero indicators to see where the bomb had gone off from, maybe get contamination on their clothes, go back down the hole again, but they had done their job.
There it is. It's on the east one. That gives us the bearing as 104 at an elevation of 01.
Would the system have worked? Well, if the warning had come through, if the posts had been manned, if people had listened to the warnings, casualties certainly would have been reduced. But it was so many improbables, I don't think it has worked as effectively as it could have done.
Luckily, the system was never tested for real. With the end of the Cold War in the early 1990s, Britain's entire network of Royal Observer Corps posts was shut down without ever being called into action. Since then, the network of bunkers planned for use by regional governments during a nuclear war have also all been closed. But one secret still remains. With an H-bomb likely to destroy any central London bunker, where did the Prime Minister and Whitehall plan to try to survive a nuclear attack? Rumours abound about the function of a massive underground complex said to be concealed in quarries beneath this military base in Corsham, Wiltshire. Recently, the Ministry of Defence sold an adjacent underground storage depot. Local investigator Nick McCamley believes it once linked up with the complex.
Right, just 2 years ago there would have been armed guards on the gate here, but in 1998 the underground depot was sold off and they belong to a film company, and we're here now to see them.
Beneath the film studios, in the tunnels of the former depot in Spring Quarry, Nick McCamley claims to have found evidence of a secret facility beyond.
Officially it still doesn't exist, no one will talk about it. They've always denied it was there, but in recent years information, substantiated information, has begun to come out from the Public Record Office, from other sources. Although they still deny it, the evidence is incontrovertible. I was last down here, I think it was December 1998. just after the place closed down, I came down with a guy from the MOD to do some record photography. I came against this huge steel door, which we were told was a fire exit from the Emergency Government War Headquarters. It's an enormous great thing. You could drive a vehicle through it. You could drive a lorry through it, I reckon. It must have been 8-10 feet high. Great hand wheels and levers and locks. Incredible thing.
You don't have that anymore?
No, I believe that they've sealed it off. There's like a buffer zone between this section that you own now and the government-owned section.
So this is the end of the line, as far as we can go?
Yep. It's a bit sinister, isn't it, these sealed corridors that lead off to nowhere. So it sort of indicates they've still got something to hide at Caution, doesn't it?
At home, Nick McCamley has a collection of formerly top-secret government documents which he believes refer to the war headquarters, codenamed Burlington. He also has a copy of a large-scale map of the complex.
The government's actually only sold off a small part of Spring Quarry. Behind the walls, which we saw as maybe 5 or 6 times as much, 2 million square feet. It's half a mile long, half a mile wide. There was space for virtually the whole of Whitehall. There's an Inter-Services Joint Committee report which was released, which is very revealing. It explains the manning levels of the Corsham depot, a staff of about 5,000 people, and it would be, according to the report, it will be the location from which a nuclear retaliation will be launched. It's my personal opinion that it may have been an expensive exercise and it may have been a cynical exercise, but in the end it did work. We may not have had provision for the general public, but in the end the whole idea of nuclear shelters to protect government worked, because the Cold War is over. The West has basically won the Cold War, and it's capitalist society's ability to finance this kind of thing that made us able to win it.
Although the Corsham bunker is thought to have been decommissioned at the end of the Cold War, Nick McCamley believes that it is still being maintained for a possible emergency. And if Warplan London does ever have to be reactivated, the government could in any case requisition at least one of the bunkers which have already been sold.
They're still very viable. They're built to keep out radiation and pressure, and they will still do that. And so I've no doubt if something did happen in the near future, somebody, be it government or local council, would requisition this because it would be a safe haven. The only difference is that this time I've got the keys.